I got around to playing the Record of Lodoss War, Deelit in Wonder Labyrinth. So this one I had mentioned before, being a game that I wanted to be able to play last year, just never got around to it. And I had it on my short list of games I was planning on playing this year. And guess what? I went ahead and bought it. It was on sale on Steam, but actually, it's on Game Pass.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, so it's just straight up available on Game Pass. I went ahead and bought it anyways, just because I was excited enough for this game to actually come out, and I wanted to support the idea of like bringing out games like this and franchises that are slightly weird, because there hasn't been a lot of Record Lodoss Wars is like very dear to me as far as my childhood. It's I just really like the series a lot, and it's my introduction to high fantasy. But yeah, for this game, to let you guys know, it's a Metroidvania style game. It's done with a pixel art. So it's very well. I think it's very well animated for the main character you're playing as Deelit High Elf, and the story is very chopped up. I guess it's like I haven't. I only know from the original anime and the TVA, so the first couple DVD releases long ago. And since then, they've come out with more novels, manga, and other material, other games. But pretty much none of that stuff ever came to the U.S. Some of the manga did, so I'm not really too familiar with any of the stuff outside of that. So it's they feed the story bits and pieces throughout. Um, so at the very end, it kind of ties it together. So even if you didn't know the series, you can kind of figure the main part out. But unfortunately, it does do a little bit better to at least have seen like a couple episodes of the anime, just so you're like, oh, all right, these are some of these other people. But it's honestly trivial. It's like it is the most non-story there is. You're mostly just playing it for uh, the gameplay. The Metroid level is where you're running around, you get new power ups, you go back and you unlock stuff. And as a whole, I like this game. It's outside of my biasness, I really like this game, but there's a couple flaws. I mean, I would say for those people who are used to a Metroidvania style game, and if you played something like oh, what was it? Bloodstain. Which is was it Igaraki? I can't remember the name of the director, but anyways, the same guy who did do the old Castlevania games. He like Bloodstain was one of the best versions of those that in a long while. I can't like compared to that, this doesn't hold up. But I also say the budget is completely different for those two games. And that's the thing is Bloodstain had a huge kickstart, and this game is like a handful of people. The credits are so darn short, it's crazy.
Oh wow.
So many, yeah, so many overlapping names. Like their name overlaps for like music and this and that. So it's a really small team, and the level designs fun, interesting. They what I'm essentially they have a couple neat mechanics and they stick through the entire game. It's there is some hidden stuff and some real exploration, but none of it is that difficult. There is one that's like, huh, I wouldn't like. I had to look up because I was like, I know there's a hidden room here. There has to be something hidden there, but I can't get to it. And then it's like, oh, you have to do this thing. I'm like, oh, that's dumb. There's no hint to that. Like I couldn't figure like I wouldn't have figured to do that thing there. But okay, whatever. And essentially it's not that difficult of a game. I would say this is almost a Metroidvania light game. It's just because as far as the challenge, there was a couple enemies that were a little more challenging, but it's mostly the bosses. Once you figure out the boss pattern or maybe what they're weak against, you can kind of spam certain things to cheese your way through. And I was like, all right. Uh, but it was just, it's one of those things that it's a great game to play while listening to a podcast. Just you can multitask and kind of just zone out and enjoy your time doing something. You're completing a map, you're going through, and it's nice to have that completion vibe to it as well. I think, like I said, I think the sprites were animated pretty well. The jump animations and like just the dodge. They have the Alucard backstep, which is very anyone who knows it is just literally you jump backwards, but this almost feels like very similar. It's a rip off of it essentially, but yeah, they do the right type of power ups. You get a lot of weapons in the game. I haven't even dabbled with that many. You have a shop where you can buy more. I didn't think that was actually necessary. I bought a few in the beginning, then I realized, oh, I'll just in the next area, I'll just find something that's better. So it's kind of almost a money's like a moot point. So like I said, I think I think it's a good game. I think it's all right, but it's just if you want something more really challenging, really like hardcore or anything like that, this is not for you. It does some of the same stuff in the end where if you wanted to try to trophy hunt or or get those achievements, you can grind to try to collect all the weapons or do this or that. And I'm like, that's never really been for me. I think I had this, I like the fact that I think I beat it in, I don't know, 7 hours maybe.
Okay.
7, 8 hours. Yeah, it was a shorter game. I beat it over the course of, like, 3 or 4 game sessions, and, um, yeah, that's really all there was. I mean, I like the fact that it was a shorter game. It wasn't that expensive, 15, $20 or something like that, and, like I said, since I bought it on sale, but if you have it on Game Pass, if you have Game Pass, I'd recommend just going ahead and giving that a shot there, and yeah, that's there's not really much else to it. It provided me with some lore for the later stuff in Record of Lodoss, and I personally enjoyed that. But honestly, if you didn't have experience with it, yeah, it's showing here that I have 8.3 hours played. But I know some of it was idle because I had to leave it running while I quick helped out with with one of my kids, and so just so I'd say 8 hours is giving it, and I 100%ed the map. So I went ahead and explored everything I could with that map. I didn't collect all the weapons though. I mean, when it comes to Steam games, I'm not really big on collecting Steam achievements because most of that you can just hack your way through.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm if it's a PlayStation game, I'll go through the effort more. My brain just is broken that way. Bloodstain, I went ahead and beat that game, and then because I had done like 90% of it or whatever, I'm like, I'll go ahead and grind these stupid enemies and to get the collecting trophies and stuff like that for it. And I'm like, yeah, this game sucks. The game's really good. Just the grinding, any of those farming things like that, it's terrible. And I did that to myself. I fully know it. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can stop at any moment. Yeah, but I'm so close to the platinum, I might as well just do it, right? I've already wasted like this much time just to get this far. What's a few extra hours? Um,
um, so do you think this game would be good on Switch?
yes, it's actually on Switch. And it's totally I without having my PC, I haven't been able to play anything really, and then being stuck downstairs. It's also on the PlayStation, I believe, or it's supposed to be coming out. I know it's on the Japanese release. They should be on the PlayStation. But yeah, I thought like, yeah, that would be really nice. Yeah, it doesn't use any, especially for the Switch. It doesn't use any real trigger buttons. Um, it doesn't use a whole lot of the shoulder buttons. You use R1 or whatever, the front trigger button. To switch between two different magic styles. You have essentially wind and fire. So you're switching between those, and depending on the enemy's elementals and stuff like that, you can regain magic. It's a fun mechanic where if there's fire on the ground and you can switch to your fire elemental and go through it without taking damage. But not only are you not taking damage, you're absorbing um, that fire ability, and it's helping you increase your MP. So if you're low on MP, you don't have to take a potion or anything like that. You can just go ahead and start draining that fire. I mean, the fire's still there, but it's just that essentially giving you a free health boost, and it has some neat mechanics where it lets you switch between because you can power up your fire and wind to level 3 essentially. So it's like a combo meter, something like that. You do enough damage, it boosts it up, and that makes your base attacks stronger because whatever element you have equipped to you will do that weapon will do that element damage. So if you have your sword, you'll see like wind wisps coming out from your sword a little bit. And if you're fighting an enemy that's strong against wind, then you can just switch to your fire ability, and you can spam your magic. And then if they happen to be using fire damage on you, then you just switch to your fire element when that fire hits you, and you're like, yeah, free MP. So I think because of that, if you know how to juggle your stuff real well, it becomes real easy. Um, so I was fighting against some major bosses, and then they'll do this sweeping like wind attack. And they're like, okay, cool. I'll just you equip your wind Ellie, and then you're just spamming your magic, and as your MP is going down, you're taking wind the wind damage, but you're not getting damaged, and then your MP is just automatically going up. And then if you do actually take damage, you can switch. Your number will go down for that elemental, but then you can switch to the one that you do have maxed, and then you're getting free. It literally just gives you free HP, as so long as you have your elemental at 3. So it's a real quick combination. It tells every time you're fighting different enemies, it'll tell you what they're strong against or what they're weak against. So it's like if they are, it's a 6-sided die. So there's like this person is a 6 to fire. That means they are impervious. Like so if you do any fire damage, it's just like a constant guard. So okay, you have to switch it up. But if there are a 1 to fire, that means you just do heavy damage. So one of the later bosses was like, they're weak against wood. Well, I technically don't have a wood magic, but you have a bow, and your bows use magic. And I happened to find a bow that fired that gave wood. It said didn't matter what magic you had equipped, it would do wood damage. So I just equipped that thing. I just started spamming from across the map. Every time he closed the distance, I would maneuver around him, run to the opposite side of the map, and start spamming it again. He threw down fire on the ground like napalm. So I switched to my fire Ellie, standing there in fire, gaining my free MP, boosting up so I can fire more arrows. And I was just laying it down, and I ended him real quick. I'm like, I feel really bad about that. I don't know. It's like broken, but like it has to be broken, and it's just
Yeah,
you know.
that's kind of cheese. It's you're cheesing it, but that's the
But I'm not
that's the
doing
game designer's
I'm not
fault.
doing anything weird like in
Yeah,
Bloodstain. Bloodstain, you invert the whole level, and then you can cheese some of the bosses that way because they can't come and hit you. Um,
but
and
that's
then
like
you
something you have
just
to be thinking a little bit outside the box for. Yeah, you're
dude,
right.
this is all straight up what's given to you.
So
I'm like,
that's
there's no way the people testing the game wouldn't have come across this.
yeah, that's just game design problems there. They probably knew about it, and they like you said, it's a small team that is in the credits, and they're doubling up on jobs. It sounds like so. They probably were like, well, it's not broken as far as like you can complete it, and it's sort of fun, and it's not annoying, so we can't fix that.
I consider it a competent indie game for the price. It's not, it's other games do it better, and they have more polish. But once again, I never expected this game to come out to the U.S. And for the price, I think I had a fun time with it. I enjoyed it, and I had a good time enjoying playing it. And I would recommend if you want something that's not that difficult. I mean, like I said, I think one boss I died like 3 or 4 times on it, and then I find you kind of figure out the pattern, and then yeah, all right, that's how most of these Metroid Vania style games go. If you have a particularly difficult boss, and you can make things more challenging for yourself if you wanted to, set your own limitations.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's just I didn't see a need for it. I completed it, and I enjoyed my time with it. So.